Have you ever wished to be someone who is unshakable, someone who doesn't care about criticism, rejection, loss, or betrayal? Have you ever dreamed of the day when you will finally stop feeling that silent pain, that anguish that eats you up inside? Even when you pretend to be fine on the outside, maybe you're tired of trying to please everyone, of maintaining an image that requires strength all the time, when in reality all you wanted was to rest just for a moment from the pressure of being untouchable. But let me tell you something that perhaps no one has had the courage to say. As long as you try to avoid pain, it will continue to control you. As long as you try to numb yourself, to protect yourself, to hide, you will remain a hostage to everything that happens around you, to the words that hurt you, to the actions that disappoint you, to the silences that kill you inside. And this is not weakness, this is the reality for most people. The difference is that some pretend better than others. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's where the key lies. It's not about shielding yourself from the world. It's not about becoming cold, indifferent, or untouchable. It's about understanding what truly lies within your control, because true strength is not the absence of pain, but the complete mastery of your inner world, even when you are bleeding. If you've made it this far, it's not by chance. This video is for you who are tired of hurting yourself with everything and everyone. It's for you who feel that you are always at an emotional disadvantage, as if other people have a power over you that you don't understand. I want to show you that it doesn't have to be this way, but for that, you will have to face some truths that may hurt. And perhaps for the first time, this pain will set you free. Let's get started. The truth about what really hurts you. You believe that what hurts you is out there, in the actions of others, in poorly chosen words, in the abandonments you have suffered, in the betrayals you did not expect. But the truth is brutal. None of this really has the power to hurt you unless there is already an open wound inside you. What hurts you is not what others do to you. It is what these experiences activate within you. It is the story you tell yourself about it. It is the old trauma that has never been addressed. It is the emptiness you disguise with strength, with pride, with that desperate need to seem well-adjusted. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. While ruling an empire under constant threat, dealing with plagues, wars, political betrayals, and the loss of multiple children, he wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." This isn't cold indifference, this is profound wisdom. The Emperor shows us that the pain we feel in the face of the external world is merely a reflection of what has not yet been mastered within our internal world. That is why some people can go through devastating situations and still maintain clarity, while others crumble in the face of a simple comment. It is not about what happens. It is about where it hits you. And here comes an uncomfortable truth. You still suffer so much because on some level, you believe you can control how the world should treat you. You are still trying to be good enough, smart enough, strong enough, understanding enough, as if that guarantees that no one will hurt you. But control is an illusion, and as long as you cling to it, you live in constant tension, trying to predict the unpredictable, trying to avoid the inevitable. Do you want to stop suffering? Then stop protecting yourself from suffering. What you need is not more control, but more awareness. As long as you believe that people need to change for you to stop feeling pain, you will remain enslaved by the actions of others. Your freedom begins the moment you understand that everything that comes from outside only has power if it finds an echo within you. And this is exactly where the true battlefield lies: your mind. The empire within your mind. The biggest lie you've been told is that you are in control of your life. Wake up, because you're not. At least not as long as you continue living on autopilot, reacting without knowing why, feeling without understanding where it comes from, making decisions that you later sabotage. Marcus Aurelius made this clear when he wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." But most people live everywhere except the present, lost in regrets about the past, anxious about an uncertain future, completely disconnected from the only moment where they actually have power. And that is exactly what is happening to you right now. The pain you feel, the anger that explodes out of nowhere, the sadness that invades you without explanation, none of this is random. They are signals coming from parts of your mind that have been forgotten, ignored, repressed. The emperor referred to this when he wrote about the citadel of the self, that inner fortress where your true power resides. But this citadel isn't just a place of retreat, it's an active command center, an entire system of thoughts, beliefs, fears, and desires that you must learn to govern. You wonder why certain words destroy you while other people don't care, because those words touch sensitive points within you that are still unguarded, still reactive. And if they are reactive, it is because you have never taken command of them. You have only pushed them into the shadows of your mind, and now you keep stumbling over them. Marcus wrote, "You must ask yourself at every moment, is this something that's up to me or not?" But what have you been doing? Trying to control everything that isn't up to you while neglecting the one thing that is, your mind. The truth is that your inner turmoil does not disappear just because you ignore it. It only finds more dangerous ways to manifest, in toxic relationships that you repeat, in patterns of self-sabotage that you cannot break, in anxieties and fears that arise when everything seems to be going well. This is not bad luck. This is your mind trying to wake you up, but you insist on sleeping. Do you want to be someone who is no longer hurt? Then stop running away from what is inside you. Because as long as you do not know your own mind, you will be a puppet of your emotions. The path of the philosopher-emperor. Most people believe that the only way to avoid getting hurt is by closing themselves off. They build walls, create masks, develop emotional armor, and pretend that nothing affects them. They say, "I don't care anymore. I couldn't care less. Nothing gets to me."
But inside, they continue to bleed. They keep corroding. Because the problem was never about feeling. The problem is not understanding what you are feeling and why.
Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the world, yet he wrote, "Be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break. It stands firm, and round it the seething waters are laid to rest." Notice he didn't say become a wall, he said become like a rocky headland, something that stands firm, not by avoiding the waves, but by remaining unmoved as they crash and settle. Becoming emotionally strong has nothing to do with being cold. It has nothing to do with ignoring pain, avoiding conflict, or pretending not to care. It has to do with developing what Marcus called the discipline of the mind. You do not become untouchable by creating a barrier between yourself and the world. You become untouchable when you realize that no one can touch what has already been mastered within you. When you master your thoughts, your reactions, your judgments, when you stop being controlled by every external circumstance, you stop reacting to everything. You observe, you choose. You are no longer an emotional puppet. And that is true freedom.
Marcus called this achieving ataraxia, unshakable tranquility. Not the absence of challenges, but the presence of inner mastery, regardless of external conditions. This is not a process of perfection, but of disciplined practice. You do not need to become a better person, you just need to become the master of your own mind.
And here is the secret that no one told you. The more you run from pain, the more it chases you. The more you try not to be affected, the more fragile you become. But when you face your own thoughts, when you accept responsibility for your inner world, nothing outside has the power to dismantle you. However, this path requires courage. Courage to look within. Courage to take full responsibility. Courage to feel, because it is precisely in disciplined self-examination that the key to transformation is hidden. Suffering as your teacher. You learned to hate pain since you were little. You were taught that suffering is a sign of weakness, that crying is a waste of time, that feeling too much makes you vulnerable. And so you began to run, to avoid, to deny. But the more you flee from suffering, the more it chases you. And the worst part? It changes form. It disguises itself as anxiety, anger, apathy, boredom, self-destructive impulses that you don't even understand where they come from. Ignored pain does not disappear. It just digs tunnels inside you until one day, without warning, everything collapses. Marcus Aurelius saw suffering in a completely different way. While losing 8 of his 13 children, while facing constant military campaigns, while dealing with the Antonine Plague that killed millions, he wrote, "The mind that pursues the good, whether it succeeds or not, is honored by the very attempt." He understood that pain was not a punishment, it was information. It was his mind's way of showing him where he still lacked discipline, where he still needed to grow. He wrote, "You have power over your pain, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find peace."
But you don't listen. You silence yourself, distract yourself, keep yourself busy, numb yourself. You do everything to avoid looking at what really matters. What is this pain trying to teach you?
The truth is that suffering only hurts so much because you are still at war with reality. There is still a part of you wanting to grow, and another part wanting to keep everything as it is. There is something inside you that cries out for transformation, but your ego, accustomed to comfort, tries to suffocate that call. And it is in this friction that pain is born, because change hurts, growth hurts. Letting go of old beliefs, cutting toxic ties, allowing what no longer serves you to die, all of this is a mourning, an internal process of death and rebirth. But it is precisely in this space of breakdown that something new can be born. Because when everything in you is deconstructed, when certainties crumble, when pain lays bare your vulnerability, you can finally see who you really are, without the layers of protection, without the performance, without the mask. And at that exact point, suffering becomes sacred, because it brings you to your knees before the only thing that can set you free, your own disciplined mind. Marcus knew this. He understood that suffering is not a failure of the system, it is part of the training. Pain is not the end of the road, it is the beginning of the journey towards mastery. The problem is that most people give up before completing that training. They flee, they distract themselves, they return to comfort. But not you. If you have made it this far, it is because you are ready to complete the training. The daily practice of inner mastery. Few people have the courage to begin the journey of true self-mastery, and even fewer have the courage to complete it. Because this path does not promise comfort. It does not offer guarantees. It does not protect your ego, it disciplines it. Marcus Aurelius understood that becoming who you are means, above all, unlearning what you think you are. And that hurts more than any external rejection, because you start to realize that much of what defined you until now was an illusion. You are not your achievements. You are not your traumas. You are not the image you constructed to be loved, respected, or admired. All of this was what you created to survive, but surviving is not living. True mastery is life's call beyond survival. It is when you begin to push everything that has been repressed, hidden, and distorted to the surface. This requires what Marcus called the dissolution of false beliefs. In other words, you will need to tear off your own skin to discover what lies beneath. It is in this process that you begin to become untouchable, not because nothing affects you anymore, but because you have already gone through the fire. You have faced your mental patterns, you have looked into the eyes of your shame, your neediness, your anger, and said, "I see you and you no longer control me." It is this internal clarity, this discipline in the face of your own darkness, that gives you a strength that does not depend on approval, recognition, or control. You no longer need to be loved by everyone. You no longer need to win every argument. You no longer need to appear strong because you know who you are and no one can take that away from you. True emotional mastery is not a shell, it is a core. It is the integration of all your parts into a center of consciousness that remains unshaken in the face of storms. You may feel pain, but it does not break you. You may be hurt, but you do not lose yourself, because you have stopped being reactive and have become responsive. You have stopped living on the surface and have begun to inhabit the depths. However, this depth comes at a price: solitude. Not because you will be alone, but because few people can accompany you on this journey. Most are still trapped on the surface, in masks, in the fear of feeling.
And when you begin to free yourself, you inevitably distance yourself. But this distancing is not rejection, it is maturation. Consciousness as your shield.
Now that you've made it this far, there is something that needs to be said very clearly. Nothing, absolutely nothing, will shield you from external suffering if you remain unconscious of what happens within you. The words will continue to hurt. The rejections will continue to sting. The losses will keep bringing you down until you awaken. An awakening is not a magical event. It is a daily choice. It is looking within even when it hurts. It is taking responsibility for everything you feel without blaming others, the past, or fate anymore. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be." Be one. You have spent your whole life resisting the fear of not being enough, the emptiness of rejection, the pain of loneliness, the anguish of not feeling seen.
But what did you do with that? You hid. You silenced yourself. You tried to control everything. You tried to be perfect. You tried to be strong.
And all of this has brought you here, exhausted, tired of fighting against the world and against yourself.
But now you know. True emotional immunity is not hardness, it is clarity. It is not about creating armor, it is about expanding your awareness.
Because when you understand your triggers, your patterns, your wounds, the actions of others lose the power to destroy you. You still feel, but you don't drown. You still suffer, but you don't lose yourself. And that changes everything. What shields you is not protecting yourself from life, it is diving into it deeply. Those who live on the surface get hurt by any wave. Those who dive know that there is silence, stability, and power down below. And that is where you're headed when you start to live from that place of integration, presence, acceptance. The world may try to knock you down, but it no longer finds where to hit you. Marcus Aurelius, facing his final moments, wrote, "Death smiles at us all, but all a man can do is smile back." That is the ultimate untouchable state. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because you have mastered the one thing that truly matters: your mind. If this video touched you in some way, if something within you has awakened, write here in the comments, "I choose mastery." Let's start a movement of people who no longer want to survive by pretending to be strong, but to live with truth and discipline. And don't forget, the next video is also part of this journey. It's important you need to keep going. Real transformation only begins when you don't stop at the first step. See you there.